President William Ruto had been promised goodies worth $40 million, equivalent to 52 billion shillings, by the Biden administration when he visited the United States on May this year. This amount was to be delivered in phases to finance Kenya's domestic affairs across various sectors. This aid has not been fully delivered to the Ruto administration, at least according to the available public knowledge. In this video, I want us to look at why President William Ruto is not likely to receive the millions of dollars that he had been promised by the Biden administration during his visit to the US. And without wasting time, let's get into it.
Kamala, you're fired. Get out of here. You're fired.
Number one, Donald Trump has just won the election to become the 47th president of the United States. Now, unlike Joe Biden, Trump is a deal breaker and is extremely unpredictable. The problem with this is that after his inauguration, he will not be willing to continue spending money on certain unnecessary errands that were signed by his predecessor in the name of promoting the so-called democracy around the world. Ruto's administration might even be among the first casualties. If you doubt what I'm saying, then have a look at this video.
I have been very, very direct with Secretary Stoltenberg and members of the alliance in saying that NATO members must finally contribute their fair share and meet their financial obligations. But 23 of the 28 member nations are still not paying what they should be paying and what they are supposed to be paying for their defense. This is not fair to the people and taxpayers of the United States. And many of these nations owe massive amounts of money from past years and not paying in those past years.
The video you've just watched is about President Trump lecturing NATO members to pay off their financial obligations so that they do not burden other countries. In short, Trump is insisting that in a free market economy, you get compensated for the value that you offer. You cannot sit and watch and still receive millions or billions of dollars in aid in exchange for hot air. Trump will look into the executive deals signed by his predecessor and revoke some of them that, according to his philosophy, do not add direct value to the American government. In this scenario, the $40 million deal promised to the Ruto administration by President Biden might be thrown into the ocean. In fact, there are fears all over the world that with Trump, who is a convicted criminal at the helm of global leadership, a lot of things might go wrong, and yet a lot might also go right. Here is what global citizens think.
A guy who is a convicted felon, a guy who was responsible for an insurrection on the Capitol, and yet despite all of that, the American electorate is on the verge of turning around and saying, we'll have more of that, please. And yet, with all of that, he is going back to the White House, and the American people have said, yes, we have confidence in you.
Donald Trump looks on course to become the 47th president of the United States, with all the change that that heralds. You do need to underline just how remarkable this is. I mean, the only time in American history this has happened before was the 1880s, when Grover Cleveland became the 22nd and 24th president of the United States. Donald Trump is going to become the 45th and 47th president of the United States. But Grover Cleveland hadn't been responsible for an insurrection at the Capitol in 2021. He hadn't been impeached twice. He hadn't been found guilty on 34 offences, and Donald Trump still awaits sentencing on that. He hasn't faced a whole slew of other charges. And yet, with all of that, he is going back to the White House, and the American people have said, yes, we have confidence in you.
My expectations from President Trump is not any different from what President Ruto embarked on after he defeated the system and took over from Uhuru Kenyatta. Ruto moved swiftly and abandoned policies and projects that were initiated by the retired President Uhuru Kenyatta. He ended subsidies on fuel that was initiated by Uhuru Kenyatta to cushion Kenyans from the high cost of living. Ruto also returned port operations to Mombasa and returned control of the Kenya Meat Commission from the Ministry of Defense to the Ministry of Agriculture. Kazi Mtaani program that offered job opportunities to the youth in the country also came to an end under the Kenya Kwanza administration. The Ruto regime also disbanded the Special Service Unit that was under the Directorate of Criminal Investigations in a bid to end alleged extrajudicial killings. And it will not be surprising to come to terms with the fact that under the Donald Trump administration, the 52 billion shillings that was promised by Joe Biden to President William Ruto will be scrapped with no explanations whatsoever. Remember, the funds were to be used in the realms of human rights and governance, youth empowerment, advancing disability inclusion, reforms, and the modernization of both Kenya Prison Service and the National Police Service, among others. Now, the Biden-Kamala regime also promised to deliver 16 US-made helicopters, military helicopters, and these ones were to be delivered in late September 2024. I'm not so sure whether the Kenya Defense Forces have received them, but do let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. I can also not forget the fact that 150 armored security vehicles were to be delivered to Kenya by September 2024. I don't know whether they have been bought or not, but I'll leave that to you to judge in the comment section. Ladies and gentlemen, my question to you today is whether the Kenya-US deals that were signed in May 2024 will be affected by the ascension of President Donald Trump to power. Do let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more informative content such as this. Cheers.